All right. Let's see what's going on this week in the games news. All right. Kickstarting this week, we have Pal World and the body type 1 and 2 situation that happened in the Steam forums. Someone raised a question: can you change type 1 and 2 bodies to male and female, please? It got heated thanks to people trying to defend the idiocy that is body type 1 and 2, and the Valve moderator had to step in and close threads. The kicker is that someone brought an in-game example, specifically how breeding 1 and 2 doesn't work, and received a ban because this whole situation spiraled out of control so hard that Grumps retweeted it while tagging Palworld English account, seeing Marek Derminsky's Twitter poll as an example. Side note, the Mad Lad himself quoted Grumps confirming that body type 1 and 2 makes zero commercial sense. This isn't the first time or the first topic in this regard. Later clarifying that he doesn't think Palworld is doing this for political beliefs and believes that it's become the norm. Now, let's take a minute here and do some creative work in terms of how to provide feedback. I can't stress this enough. Calling the developers names and threatening them will not resolve anything. If you provide feedback in a constructive manner with examples, it will be more effective instead of saying, this is bad, please fix. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's start with how to provide feedback. You fire up the game and go into options, then go to report bugs and issues. This will open the bug/feedback form in a browser window. Select feedback, platform, and start typing. You don't really need to bother with network mode, user ID, session ID, metadata. That's not important. What's important is writing good feedback and backing it up with numbers. Or if you're lazy, the images have an example of constructive criticism, at least how I view it, that is. You can just copy paste that. Moving on, we have the gamer going to bat for Marathon, a piece where they claim that it has something Concord doesn't, without elaborating what that thing is. To no one's surprise, the article also tries going into what Concord supposedly did wrong, only to just list the multiple problems the game had. It went into who Firewalk Studio was and what would have happened if the game was successful. Such an obvious puff piece, considering the article claims that because Marathon is made by Bungie, it will be good, and trying to claim that Marathon isn't Concord. Fine, I'll give him that. The names are different, but that won't stop the game from going the Concord route if the developers will it. Like Concord, Bungie removed the NDA from the alpha test for Marathon. However, the lift was also to help shift the narrative. Marathon's Twitter account also tweeted this, asking for thoughts on the alpha, and the players are not happy with it. This will most likely have a follow-up next week with what the comment section is. Can't say I'm surprised. Speaking of surprise, Star Wars Outlaws is getting another story pack on the 15th of May. In a reply to their official announcement on Twitter, someone pointed out the elephant in the room. Made up of teams has a release date, while the majority of people were flat out not interested. Now, on something people are interested in, Lords of the Fallen hits Steam's top 10 global bestsellers with the 2.0 update. The CEO of CI Games, Mark Terminsky, came out with actual numbers, breaking down the data with timestamps of what happened and on what date. Lightning numbers, I must say. This is what listening to gamers will net you as CEO followed through with his player-first philosophy after the poll where he asked if players want male and female or body type A and B. Since that poll, there were multiple other polls that people used to provide feedback, and it shows in contrast to other AAA games. This was all during the meltdown by the r/Lords of the Fallen mods because of change that was asked for the community. Yes, it is that ridiculous. Proving once again that Reddit can be a treasure trove of good information and a cesspool of idiocy and power tripping at the same time. As a quick reminder, the idiots that were modding the subreddit decided to only treat information on Blue Sky, currently the greatest echo chamber in the world, as true while banning Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all under the pretext of spreading misinformation. Oh, the irony is strong with this one. At the same time, these basement dwellers called the CEO of CI Games a member of a certain Democratic Party in Germany from 1920. On the bright side, r/The Lords of the Fallen is doing pretty well. One Redder at the time of the mod revolt asked for proof and was provided with a ban just for asking. I mean, the jokes write themselves here. Now on to another funny little thing. Game journalists defending Assassin's Creed Shadows. GameIndustry.biz wrote what could only be described as a desperate attempt to appease shareholders and people who live under a rock at this point, with the great claim that the negative campaign is overblown, whilst claiming that sales figures for Shadows started to roll in. Surprise, no precise numbers were provided. That will be the case until hopefully the 15th of May, as that's when they announced their Q4 sales last year, and hopefully we'll get the data for Shadows then. Returning to the article, the site also tried claiming that the release delay was due to the game being a target of an online outrage campaign over the protagonists. This was contradicted by the statement from Ubisoft they made when they cited they need time to improve the game. Talk about not being in touch with the company or trying to defend. The article also claims that the controversy was initially just misogynism and racism, then got veiled with alleged disrespect towards Japanese culture and religion in general, even though the Japanese government stepped in on this whole thing and confirmed that the game was disrespectful toward Japan. In a direct contradiction to the statement from the same article, where they cited there is no sales data, they also claimed that the physical sales of Assassin's Creed Shadows, which are around 25,000, is reasonable sales for a PlayStation 5. But this is anywhere near the numbers Ubisoft needs to recoup the cost of the game, no matter how you look at it. They also claim that the controversy is random in nature and that it's manufactured, but again, all of the controversy is due to Ubisoft's marketing and merch teams not knowing what is appropriate or caring. There's only to tell at this point in time. The same website also released an article about Veilguard leading the gaming awards for 2025, which it picked up 3 across 12 categories, including Game of the Year. And if only that was the only runner in the stupid award category for writing, we have other entries, such as games journalists decided to rant and rave about Marvel Rivals bringing out swimsuit skins in the future, all thanks to the upcoming issue of the Marvel Swimsuit Special that's due to be released on the 9th of July, as that includes swimsuits that will be skins in the game. The quote-unquote great minds over at The Video Gamer are calling this a promotion of skimpy skins. Tell me you haven't gone to the beach without telling me. Now, not to be left out of the race, PC Gamer also jumped in on the Marvel Rivals trend by subtly implying that this is a bad thing, while claiming that Swimsuit Special was famous money spinner aimed at horny teenage boys in the 90s, and it makes sense to revive it today, all because the entire internet is openly horny. In other news, water is wet. I mean, Rule 34 has always been in full effect, you only need to know where to find it. But for these journalists, they fall under Rule 18. Everything that can be labeled can be hated. Now, let's look at something that blindsided everyone on the internet this week. Oblivion's remaster was shadow dropped and managed to hit a peak of 205,000 players on Steam in the first week. This is impressive. First, because this is not another version of Skyrim. Second, because the last thing Bethesda released was Starfield. And we all know how that went. Make things even better, the game costs €55 or $50 on Steam. Nothing like the previous attempts at milking the Elder Scrolls series. Todd Howard even chimed in on this, saying that he also wanted to make sure that the remaster felt like the original game with modern tools to improve on it, even going as far as saying, and I quote, "You want some of that old charm," and it shows that there is passion behind the project. Virtuos Games, the game studio that worked on the remake, had their love and the game on full display in the official reveal, going as far as using the creation engine to do the core part of the game, while using Unreal 5 to handle the visuals. Side note, some of the people working on Virtual Studios also originally worked on the game. Now, game comes with a few caveats though in terms of struggling on high-end hardware. PC Guide went to cite benchmarks from the YouTuber Compusable, close enough, showing the game can be very demanding even on RTX 5090, Ryzen 7 980 X3D, and 64 GB of RAM. That configuration, it ran at an average of 60 FPS with 4K and Lumen enabled. That will be Unreal 5's global illumination and reflection at 1440p and 1080. You get an average of 85 and 107 FPS respectively. All of this done on max graphics with Lumen TTA and no upscaling or frame gen. Of course, there are bound to be some questionable changes with the remaster, like adding body type 1 and 2, changing the race to be identity, and gender is replaced with origins. The definitions of these things are missed on some people by the looks of things, as any half-decent dictionary would give you the meaning of the words, and examples how to use them on top. With the body type situation, you then should have modders step in and fix this. Well, Nexus Mod strikes again, not in a way one might expect, or you might have guessed it by now. The mod that changed body type 1 and 2 to male and female got nuked from orbit faster than the Imperium of Man declaring exterminatus on a planet, with the mod's description stating return the classic Oblivion body types to the game, currently only for English language. In the future, support will be extended to all languages. With the shit show the ban caused, a lot of people started talking about it, and that forced Nexus Mod to come out and claim that the uploader expressed an intention to incite drama and endorsed external sites designed to host inflammatory content. Because of the backlash from the banning, they reinstated the mod and posted a community notice about it, where they claimed the hostile discussions were taking place because of the nature of the topic, while linking to the ban notice. In the ban notice, the reason why he got banned is because he replied to someone with "awesome, thanks for picking up on my intention," and the salute emoji, not even showing context or anything. The only thing hostile here is Nexus Mods and the nature of the English language. And this is coming from someone who's not even a native speaker. Not to be left out of this idiotic bonanza, Vice Media ran a story trying to spin modding your game into an indicator of right-wing politics. Have these guys seen a World of Warcraft UI? Jesus Christ. What are they gonna say then? They showed Kaeda's post about Nexus Mods banning male and female mods and putting him in a group they labeled "the worst gamers you know are mad at Nexus Mods," and just continued labeling people non-stop, because that's how you prove your point, by labeling someone, instead of providing factual information, it seems. Because of the body type 1 and 2 changes, there is no female armor and you could potentially be misgendered, something that Vice might have cared a bit, looking at the slop on an article they made. Side note, I'm going to be providing links to alternative mod websites in the description. Now, let's go back to the 24th of April and the release of Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and surprisingly Metacritic scores praising it, despite it not being a DEI or Sweet Baby Ink-laced slop, going as far as giving it 92 based on critic reviews and 9.7 based on user rating. It even surpassed Schedule 1 and is below Oblivion in the top 100 selling games on Steam. All of this from a relatively unknown studio. Now, yes, people in the studio have some background in AAA studios, I'll give you that, but the studio itself hasn't made a reputation for itself until now, and games media has no stake in trying to defend it. Moving on, something that shouldn't surprise anyone at this point, Gothic Therapy got their hands on a clip about internal discussions where Sweet Baby Inc. didn't provide advice, but instead kept pushing their own narrative on developers. The clip contained video and audio footage of Cameron Wild talking about an unnamed game where a character's identity mattered a lot. Wild recounted the interactions and said that what the studio is doing isn't cool and kept pressuring the studio until it gave in, all because she claimed to have been met with less than optimal responses. To top it off, Wild claims to have shown vulnerability and wishes to have been less vulnerable because they resented needing to do so. But yeah, Sweet Baby Ink doesn't force developers to do anything about that. And lastly, we're back with the Genshin VA shit show. This time, people uncovering how Kaylee Mills tried to grab Jacob Takanashi's attention for a job back in 2022. The cherry on top was that this spilled over in the Goddess of Victory Nikkei community after they showed on their Nikkei 2.5 anniversary stream that Kaylee Mills is going to voice a new character called Rappy. Chat was screaming to recast her, calling her a bully VA. That makes me think, how big is the overlap between the communities and the gacha games? Or how badly this escalated for the voice actors? Because of backlash, Kaylee Mills issued a public quote-unquote apology. However, Reddit isn't buying it, with one of the commenters saying, "This apology is missing an apology." Even a Redditor mentioned that this apology is most likely forced from the higher-ups. Checking in on our vocal person involved in the VA shit show, instead of working on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge series, Lil Kuribo is spending his time trying to defend this work refusal / strike, or whatever they want to call it nowadays, by calling people, and I quote, grifters and anger-hating content creators. No, this is mainly because you lot started a shit show after being caught lying. Let's just forget that he isn't pointing out the main issue of the strike, like, for example, how the V8s are trying to turn Hoyo's games into union jobs, and using AI protection as a cover for the whole power trip. He also claims that Hoyo writing it as scheduling issues allows fans to deny the strike's existence, even though Joe Sieja confirmed that it's a collective work refusal. They most likely wrote scheduling issue in order to defend the VAs from the flack they are receiving. Now, Hoyo is slowly having enough of this collective work refusal and started replacing English voice actors for characters. Yet again, Lil Kuribo commented on this, claiming the actors deserve better, and claims Hoyo always had a choice without elaborating on what said choice is. Sean Lodaway is also throwing a tantrum in his statements. He said, "This didn't have to happen. This should not have been inevitable. Hoyoverse is wrong to replace striking actors." But he is also forgetting the fact that this is not a strike, but a work refusal. You'd think that a native English speaker will know the difference between work refusal and a strike, but here you go. Venti's VA is also getting threatening letters from SAG itself. She didn't elaborate on what these threatening letters are, but at least Genshin players will get one of their voice actors back, hopefully. And with all that covers this week. If you like it, press the like button. If you don't, press dislike, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you next time.